Hello everyone, good evening. So we are heading to our next talk, which is GitOps with ArgoCD. But first of all, let's give a shout out to Andreas for showing us the hard part, Git. And by the way, who knows who created Git? Who created Linux? And he's known mostly for Git, not for Linux, by his daughter. So that's a fun part. So, and he created Git in just 4 months, the first prototype, because he was he was very disappointed by other version control systems at that time, Mercurial, SVN. So those were not doing the exact job which Linus wanted for Linux code base. So one night he sat and he created the prototype in just 4 months. And this is what we are using these days. Anyhow, so let me set the stage right first. How many of you are aware of GitOps, ArgoCD, Kubernetes, and a spaghetti of everything? Okay, so I'm not expert in anything, but I'll try to be. So that's me. So I'm not very good with the graphics because long ago someone told me that you can't be a graphics engineer. Then I promised those guys, oh, well, I'll be YAML engineer. So this is what I do on daily basis, and my presentation skills are not very good. I'm a little bit fine with the code. So we are trying to do this kind of thing, which is called as a GitOps. Means Git should be your single source of truth for everything. Even if you push your secrets also, they should be there also. Only if you understand how to manage them. So our architecture, I'm mostly comfortable with the command line. So I'll be using lots of aliases, lots of shortcuts. So please buzz me whenever you feel that we are not on the same track. So we will try to do GitOps approach like how we used to do in our organizations. You, as a developer, your primary focus is your Visual Code editor. You should not focus on anything else. The moment you push the code to your version control system, in this case it will be Git, then as a platform engineer, if you're working in your organization, it's your responsibility to give a smooth developer experience to your developers so that they don't need to worry on anything else, how to run your CI pipelines, who should take care of what to deploy, when to deploy. So you should have all the quality gates and the check controls, when to deploy to stage, when to deploy to prod, and whatnot. So as a developer, I should only focus on my code. I push my code in my own branch, as Andreas showed us in the first talk. And once my branch is approved, the moment you push your changes to your branch, CI test should run. So it should do the linting, whatsoever, depending upon the programming language you are using. And once your PR is merged to the main branch, which could be the main or a master, then automatically Git should call all the people who are responsible, like your CD, bunch of other things, artifact, repository, and whatnot. And then your code should land up in production. And it should not land up in a production in a just one go all approach. It should be canary deployment, depending upon once you are satisfied with the certain set of things, then you should progress as we move forward. But that's a very high level talk, which I'm not going to do. So we'll try to, so I have two approaches for all of you. Should I make it simple or should I make it complex? Complex. You guys. Okay, so I'll try my level best. So developer pushes code to GitHub, GitHub Actions builds and pushes, do all the things. You can read all the things, but I'm more interested in the code part. So we'll try to set up 2 Kubernetes clusters. One cluster would be your ArgoCD cluster. One cluster where you will be deploying your application. That's how a typical approach. Yes, there are pros and cons, and in computer science, everything is a trade-off. So with a one ArgoCD cluster, so like you have a single point of failure because your every repo is getting deployed from that one. But if you have multiple ArgoCDs responsible for a different environments, like you have for your test environment, you have a different ArgoCD. For your staging, you have a different. For your QA, different. So then this means it's an overhead for a platform engineer to manage all the ArgoCD clusters. So as you said, we'll try to make it complex. So I'll try to create 2 clusters. One is responsible for our application deployment. one is responsible for our running ArgoCD. So ArgoCD should be aware how to talk to cluster application cluster and how to deploy. So this is the first part of our talk. The second part is once everything is done and dusted, then as a developer, now your cluster is ready, application is deployed. So as a developer, I will push my code to my main branch, and then the cluster application cluster which is running your application should have the latest code which you have built. And it's a responsibility of ArgoCD to synchronize the changes. So ArgoCD, all of you know what it is. It's a new tool in the C and CF landscape long ago, but now. So let's pray demo gods first. Okay. So I'll be using lots of aliases. Just raise your hand if you are unsure. So this would be our kind cluster. Okay. This is the very first thing which I didn't do that. Are we having the network? Yes, please. Okay, it's connected. Nope. Shall we try once again? Yeah, it works. So this is what we are trying to do. So this is our app cluster. So let's go to the code. So this is app cluster. Let's check what's the IP address. 172. Okay, makes sense. So this is I'm binding because we are using local network of mobile network. So I'm trying to make my application cluster and CD cluster on the same IP so that they can talk to each other. Okay, and nothing fancy. So if you see, this one is available. So same way we will create a CD cluster. So you need to take care of the IP addresses because we will be trying to access our ArgoCD and our application from the IPs. So my app cluster is 234 and my CD cluster would be 567, I believe. So I'll be trying to do this thing. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Make sense? Until this point, we are all on the same page? Good. Let's switch to our app cluster, prepare our application cluster so that it knows how ArgoCD will create certain pods or replica sets or a bunch of other things. So if you go here in this, so we need to create a ArgoCD namespace in our application cluster. Then we need to create a secret service account and bind those things, and then we need to create a cluster role binding so that ArgoCD with this service account can create all the things in entire cluster responsible for that. And then we need the CA data, which is certificate authority of the cluster, and the token which we are just creating with this secret here. Okay. So it's trying to create all the things. Okay, it doesn't work sometime. So these two are the very crucial points for our ArgoCD, so that with these things, ArgoCD will be able to talk to our application cluster. So, and I'm trying to install Nginx. Nothing fancy, just YAML file, Helm with my custom values file. I'm trying to expose the node port of my kind cluster to my host port, which is 32080. Okay, so this means the Nginx port of 80 is being exposed on this port. Otherwise, there is a lots of Kubernetes networking in place, the container networking, which would make it more complex. So because you need Nginx in your application cluster also to access your application. That's why we are installing it. Okay, so until this point, everything is installed on application cluster. Rest of the job, how to deploy an application, how to connect, is the CD cluster job. So we will switch to that cluster. The very first thing is we have to switch the port so that there is no port overlapping. So I will install Nginx on my CD cluster. If you see, we are on CD cluster. This thing. So these are the two clusters which we created. What is our application cluster? This IP address is same which we pasted here, so that we are exposing our Kubernetes API server endpoint on this IP address. And port number, I cannot hard code. Kubernetes automatically picks. So kind network automatically picks. So this is the port number. This is the endpoint for our application cluster, which we should be aware of, or our ArgoCD cluster should aware of. Okay, before we move to all those other things, so we need to update this part here. So this means ArgoCD will get to know, okay, this is a new cluster which I have to add in ArgoCD. Let's say if you have a 10 clusters, then you have to add all the 10 cluster relevant data in your ArgoCD. So whenever you install ArgoCD, ArgoCD knows which cluster I need to look for deploying changes. Yes, please?
Maybe a dumb question. I can imagine what's running on the application cluster, like some application. What's the purpose of what's running on the CD cluster?
You wanted to segregate. You do not want to host your ArgoCD on the same cluster. So usually in big enterprise companies, so ArgoCD, your deployment cluster is a totally different cluster. So no matter if you tear down your application cluster, your ArgoCD can immediately bring your new cluster, update the API endpoints and bunch of data, and your application will be live immediately.
Is the tool that when you run your commands, the tool that's executing those, that's running in the ArgoCD cluster?
Yes. But we'll get to that, the UI part. We will not do with the CLI commands. So we also need this data which we just got here. So this should be okay. If you do not pass this data, then ArgoCD does not know how to connect to your application cluster. And we are exposing our ArgoCD on this endpoint, and we are adding one repository. Let's say if you have 10 repositories, you can have your 10 repositories, so that ArgoCD will start looking out for those repositories. And we are doing everything via code, so that later point in time, if you have to bring up a new ArgoCD cluster, just to slap the values file on top of that, and it should work out of the box. Okay, so let's see, Nginx is installed. Yes. Let's create our ArgoCD cluster, or ArgoCD in our CD cluster. Any questions so far? Is it complex or so-so, or? What is a cluster? It's a bunch of nodes. Bunch of machines, virtual machines.
What's ArgoCD?
ArgoCD is a tool that helps you to do easier continuous deployment job. So that manages your YAML files, look out for all the changes, and tries to sync them, whatever you have in your version control system, with your cluster, so that there is no drift. So let's say ideally in the CNCF world, you should push everything to your everything as a code. So you should push everything to your code base, and rest of the tools should look out for all those things and match it with the current state in the cluster, in your cluster, with the actual state in the version control. And if there is a drift, they should automatically reconcile, bring the new changes based on your strategy which you have defined, else just fail. And
What's the difference between that and GitHub Actions?
Will-
Clustering and all this stuff?
GitHub Actions, it's like your offload. You can have GitHub Action is responsible to do your CI job. You can have Jenkins, which I don't like personally because of.
I use GitHub Actions all the time, but I just want to say.
Pardon?
I use GitHub Actions all the time, but my projects aren't as big as ones in Argo, I guess.
GitHub Actions we are using just because you're delegating the major task to GitHub, to Azure. Okay, so they are doing the heavy lifting for you. You are just focusing on your code and the bunch of CI basic stuff like the linting, building Docker image and everything. You're offloading it to them. You can do it yourself if you have the expertise, if you have the headcount in your organization, then yeah, you can. But the thing is, like we do have in our organization, we do have a bunch of different scenarios. We have our own Jenkins also, so for some of the customers, and we have a GitHub Actions. Our GitHub Actions are running, triggering all the deployments in our own Azure clusters. So it's a bunch of mix of everything. Okay, so if you see, we do have our ArgoCD up and running in our CD cluster. Let's check, are we able to access it? Nope, as expected. Okay, so the port got messed up somewhere. So ArgoCD, whenever you create ArgoCD, the best approach is you should have a single sign-on. You should not use these kind of, and in today's cloud native world, no one remembers all the password. So you should have only one single entry point. So in a Google or in a bunch of other good organizations, the moment you join the company, you open the laptop, boom, you're done. You're not supposed to click on any login or bunch of other credentials based on your group or the team which you belong to in your IDP, which is Identity Management Portal, Microsoft Azure or Google Workspace or a key clock, depending upon what they're using. So based on the group, you should get an access. That's a typical approach. So, but if you see here, we have admin enabled true. This means that's why we are able to see this. So, but we do not know the password. We did not mention anything because ArgoCD generates a randomly generated password during the installation of ArgoCD. How to get that one? So this is the alias which I have said. So if you see, this is the initial admin password. You're not supposed to share this thing with anyone. But in highly enterprise grade applications, admin is always false. So that's our password. We are in. Okay. We are admin user with the issuer. ArgoCD created this password for us. And if we go to settings, this is the repository. Takes time, which we added here. If you see here, this one. And now the fun part is clusters, because we added some cluster, but ArgoCD is saying it's unknown. It's a known bug in ArgoCD sometimes if you are on a local network. But if your IP address is publicly reachable or within the local DNS, then it works. But at least we are able to see that one cluster is being mentioned over there. So this is an app cluster. Now we need to install our application. So this is the application cluster. So I have a welcome app, and I need to update. I need to tell where to deploy this app. Okay, this is ArgoCD application YAML file, which we are trying to use it. And if you see this one, how many of you know ArgoCD apps? Then you guys can. So it's how can I put in a good word, good frame? So it's another ArgoCD resource, CRD, that helps you to define your applications in YAML format. Otherwise, you have to define everything manually. Like, let's say if I want to create a new app, I have to go through all these things, which ideally you should not. So everything should be as a code. So you pass this or pass it as a YAML file, which I'll show you in a while. But I am going one extra step ahead. So we'll try to install welcome app. So it is deployed. So if you see, cancel, okay. So ArgoCD has deployed this app, but where it has deployed? It has deployed in the IP address which we configured during the installation of ArgoCD. So if you see, where are we right now? We are in a CD cluster. And if we see, there is no welcome app. But if I just go to app cluster, do this thing, welcome app is there. So this means ArgoCD knows which cluster I should install this app and how to connect to that cluster. So how to install this app is being defined here, which we just did. This is, let's say if I have 10 clusters, cluster 1, 2, and so on, I want to deploy this app on cluster 8, then I have to define it over there. And how to talk to that cluster, that we did it here in the combination of this one. Ideally, you should not paste all these things. It should be pulled up from your central secret management. It could be AWS Secret Manager, HashiCorp Vault, depending upon what you are using, and mounted as a secret environment variable. Now, how we can confirm that our application is running? So my application is having endpoint. Okay, good job. Let's do something. I think there is some issue with the port. Okay. Okay, no worries. We'll try it out. We'll fix this one. That's the fun part. Okay. 32080. Okay, makes sense. Okay, now it works. And if I try to do this thing, I should be able to get, I believe. I don't know why this is not working. Three two zero eight zero. Okay. Was it? Yep. Okay. So our application is now working somehow. Now, as a developer, I should push my code if I want to deploy to the repo. So we will go to our Go application and let's modify this thing. Okay. Make sense? By the way, your commit messages should be a little bit verbose. That's a code hygiene. When you are working on a big project, you are not supposed to throw update file, this file. So be nice to your fellow developers so that they can understand what you did, how, and so if we go to our repo somewhere, let's see. That's our repo. And the moment I did, so GitHub action got triggered. Now GitHub action got triggered. So it is trying to build my Docker image for my application code, pushes it to Docker Hub registry, and then update the image tag based on the build SHA of git commit. Ideally, you should not use SHA. You should have a tag-based deployment. And the moment this YAML file got updated, the image tag, I'll show you which one. So ArgoCD will automatically detect the changes. So now there are two strategies in ArgoCD. How to push your changes directly, either via a webhook, which you can integrate with your GitHub and ArgoCD, so that whenever there is a new change, so ArgoCD automatically gets to know via webhook. Else, you have to manually sync. The third approach is if you do not sync, there is no webhook, then ArgoCD takes 3 minutes to reconcile the changes. That's official time period of ArgoCD. Now you say you will see that message is updated, and where it did what it did, we do not know. So if you see manifest, so it got updated. It updated something else. Okay, that's good. So ideally, it should do. This is the build GitHub Actions. Someone asked me what is GitHub Action. So we are trying to do. This is a simple steps which GitHub will follow. What to do when you do this, when you push your changes. So we are trying to do whenever there is a push event on my branch main with these files, do these kind of steps. So check out code, extract the SHA, go binary, log into my Docker registry, and start building the Docker file. So if you see here, I did not add deployment.yaml file. Ideally, if you guys see here, I am trying to do this thing. Okay, this one, sorry. Welcome app. I'm looking at this path, which is talk. Okay, so let's say but ArgoCD didn't, I forgot to update this one. So if I put git add and git image tag update over there, then the image tag in that folder will get updated and my changes will be pushed. So example, if we go to our app, there is a folder called talk. Yes, please.
So just so I get this right, whenever you push to your main branch,
yes,
your pipeline will build a new Docker image.
Yes.
Your application, and it will also update
the image tag.
the image tag. So Argo then knows, hey, the infrastructure needs to change and
Yes.
update it.
So ideally, the best scenario is you should have a separate pipelines. Okay, the best approach is I clubbed a bunch of things together. The best approach is CI should only do the things, build the Docker image, push it to registry. Then if everything is fine, your quality gates and checks are automatically passed, then it should promote that image tag to the test staging or a QA staging, depending upon that. And then either it should be a manual if you're too confident about your changes, or it should be some manual intervention, like someone has to approve those kind of changes. Okay, I want to approve this, I approve this tag. Now let's promote this tag to this one. That's where canary deployments or rollouts come into picture with the different scenarios. But in this case, you push your changes to the main branch. The moment there is an event triggered in the main branch, GitHub action will detect the changes, trigger the pipeline, build the Docker image, push the Docker image, and then update the image tag, if we'll see here. So after update image tag, after pushing, it is updating. Updating in these three files: manifest rollout, which I was trying with the Argo rollouts, the deployment YAML file, and the task deployment.yaml file. But I forgot to git push talk.yaml file, okay, in that one. So if we go here, manifest, if you see, just 3 minutes ago. Okay, so this image was built and pushed to Docker Hub with this tag, and if I would have kept here, instead of talk, I would have put manifest over there. Then ArgoCD will automatically check that there is a change in the manifest file folder. Okay, so I need to update. Now you can ask, okay, what is in this one? So if we go, let's go with the talk folder here. So this is the tag. It's visible now. This one. I'll just give me 1 second. And if we, because this tag did not get updated because I forgot to push those changes. And if we go to manifest file, let's say manifest folder. So ideally, I can see from CI update image tag to this one. So it just got updated. The other one is now the new tag which is deployed is 23762E5. Now if we try to go to our ArgoCD, we will be able to see which image tag is deployed. So 0794. That's the tag which we have deployed. Yes, please.
So basically, your GitHub action is actually creating another commit in the same repository. Is that something you would actually do like in a real life production scenario, or is that something you just did for the showcase of the demo here?
No, ideally you should raise a PR. Once your PR is reviewed, your PR gets merged to main branch. GitHub action is not doing anything. The moment you merge your PR, there is a new commit. GitOps is just extracting that git commit, and then taking the SHA of first 7 characters, and then considering that thing as a tag.
No, but I meant like the last part of the thing where it increases the tag of the.
Can you point me this one?
So if you open the GitHub action.
Yes, please.
And then at the very end, I think it does create a commit, like at line 56.
Line 56. 56. It is just doing a grep.
Sorry, 65. So I think the last line from the.
Yeah. So it is updating the tag in the respective folder. That okay, this is a tag I want to deploy.
All right. But
yeah, in the same tag, in the same repo itself. Okay. It's trying to do that thing.
I would see like this is maybe a stupid question. I could see this as a really good chance for creating an infinite loop of the thing, creating a change in the GitHub repository, triggering the build over and over again.
Ideally, you should have a tag-based deployment. The moment you merge your changes, so you should have a tag with the change log and everything, and then that tag, because the image is already pushed. Okay, so because my everything, the YAML files and everything is in the same repo.
Yeah.
That's why you are seeing there. Ideally, your YAML file should be in some other repo.
Okay.
That's where you are making another tag over there.
Okay.
Yes, please. Second question.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could have a second repository for these spammy comments where just a version is incremented or the tag for staging environments where you want to deploy every release, for example. Is this possible, or is this the way to go? Because currently, if you do one commit, you get a second commit for free.
Yeah.
And this spams the history a little.
Absolutely, absolutely. I vouch for that. Ideally, your code should be having only code files. Your deployment pipeline or a deployment file, YAML file should be in some other repo. And ArgoCD is pointing to those repos, not your exactly this repo. So I just wanted to make it a little bit simpler so that I kept all the things in a one repo so that it is easy for if someone is following the example. But it makes sense. Okay, but I'm not happy with this thing because I forgot to do those ones. But if you see the moment we make those kind of changes, so we should be seeing at Dynatrace, but we are not because we did not update that thing. So that's all from my end. Any questions further? Yes, please.
Could you also let ArgoCD follow the tag of the image? So you say always listen to the updates of this registry. Whenever this image changes, I want to roll it out.
Ideally, you should not let ArgoCD follow your Docker registry. You are pointing, okay, whenever there is a change, your code should build an image, your CI pipeline, and then the image is being built and pushed. Then your ArgoCD will automatically pull that one, but you have to mention every time which tag I want to deploy in your YAML files. Otherwise, ArgoCD can pick any tag from there. Let's say, usually we have a use case here, like in our Jenkins, in our own setup, developers want to select which tag they want to deploy. So they have to select the environment, like let's say test, okay, which region, Singapore region. The moment they select Singapore region, the test environment, that repo, Jenkins will automatically get all the repos available in Singapore test environment repo. So they can only pick, okay, I want to deploy this tag, this kind of environment. And then the moment you select that tag, the values file should automatically have that tag. And then ArgoCD will watch the YAML files and pull the changes. Yes, Andres?
How would you know if all of this is automated, it's nice because we don't need to look at it and we can rest assured that the production looks like the thing we defined in the Git repository. What if the rollout fails though? What if the deployment in Kubernetes fails and we don't get into a running state? How would I notice this?
So usually you should have alerting over there, but ArgoCD gradually rolls out your new changes. Okay, so the rollout strategy is by default rolling updates. So which is like if you have two replicas of two containers, two pods, so one will go, one will come. So yes, you would have a downtime, little bit of, depending upon how you have strategized this thing. So that's why people used to have a canary deployment. Once they are pretty much sure about, okay, when I say canary, it means you deploy your new changes and you want to migrate only 10% of the traffic to a new application. And then you wanted to test. And then Argo rollouts, there is another tool of Argo project, which is Argo rollouts, that helps you to monitor all the things. And once your checks are passed and everything, and it has a mechanism in that itself that it automatically stops all the deployments if your checks are not passed, depending upon your metrics. So, and once your checks are passed, then you can have a pause window. Maybe next time I can prepare this kind of a demo with Argo rollouts, where let's say the first 10% traffic goes to the new pod. Once this kind of a quality check is fine, then promote it to 30%, then 50, then 70. That's a gradual rollout. Any other questions? Yes, please.
Yeah, what's the difference to the tag-based version you told us? You told we should use tag-based. Is it only the difference that we use a tag instead of the SHA?
SHA is not a human readable. Tag with the change log is a human readable. If I as if I and
It's more safe, I would assume, no?
Pardon?
The SHA is immutable.
Yes,
Tag,
yes.
I can move a tag.
You can do
By
that, but
default, the tag is not immutable.
yeah, and that's a good point. But you should not remove your tags also not to pollute your history, so that you get to know, okay, why did I do this kind of thing?
Not and do not is a difference.
Yeah, that's always the case. At what cost I have to do this thing? I just wanted to do it. So, but yeah, that's the case. So you should have a tag-based deployment with the semantic versioning, and then you have a change log. Okay, in this tag, what we deployed, why it deployed, and what are the changes. So easily trackable, auditable, whatsoever. So that's all from my end. I hope you all had fun, but I was not happy.